A cyber community to me is a group of 10,000 people, up to 10,000 people, living in some form of community. It could be less. I don't think it could be much more. That a cyber community is a piece of the environment in which there are no automobiles, no vehicles to speak of. A walkable community is a place where people live. A cyber community can have, say, up to 4 levels, which I think is about the maximum. A cyber community need have no stairs. A cyber community has all the things needed to make a vital existence right on site. And that means that you have residential, you have educational, you have recreational, you have commercial, you have even manufacturing. Now I ask you, is it impossible for people who have managed to zone the world into totally isolated segments, residential over here and factories over there, appropriate for the last century, possibly, maybe for the 19th century, but not for the future? A cyber community, in my mind, is a voluntary community. It is a community where people decide they want to live, and they want to live there because they are tired of undemocratic community. They are tired of segregated and economically divided, polarized, hierarchical by economy communities. In other words, these are communities where people who want to live a somewhat ethical existence can choose the guidelines by which they live. It is a voluntary community. Let's say I want to have a cyber community that does not allow guns. So people who live there are not permitted to have guns. Why? Why not? There is no reason why you cannot have a community in which people do not have guns. This is a community that has no cars. Why not? Why can't we have a community that has no cars? Now, I live in Manhattan, and I don't want to suggest that a cyber community is so different than what we have now that we couldn't possibly do anything at all. We cannot advance, we cannot move. In Manhattan, there is no reason whatsoever that one of these buildings that they're about to strike down in order to create yet another high-rise devoted to condominiums, residences for the wealthy. There is no reason why we could not begin to create cyber communities from these buildings. Say a building would hold maybe, I don't know, my building. It holds about 600 apartments. That means about 1,200, a couple of thousand people maybe at the most. There is no reason why this building could not be remodeled to include little public places where we can sit and the equivalent of little squares, that they could not enable us to avoid most elevator travel by at least creating ramps between floors that we could walk up gently. There is no reason why we cannot have little schools, little kiosks of schools and kiosks for commercial activities. A cyber community is a community where we imagine means of linking everybody who lives there to the whole world. We can do that with little kiosks that have an expert there that it gets reimbursed with a commission if you transact any business there. I want to see a rescaling of society into cyber communities. I don't want everyone to have to live in a cyber community. I want to see cyber communities develop democratically around interests, around commitments. Of course, if people accepted my triadic philosophy, they would go into these cyber communities and they would accept the values of democracy, tolerance, helpfulness, and non-idolatry, aka iconoclasm. Well, this whole little YouTube site, largely ignored, is the location of most of the thinking about cyber communities. Obviously, I have not covered it, but at least today, using the Herald Square section of this site, I've tried to explain some elements of cyber community. Thank you.